Watch the entire video, my lovely viewers, from start to finish, to get the whole thing. Without wasting much of your time, let's get right into it.
This is DJ Mutati exclusive.
Hi lovely viewers, it's me again, your one and only Mutati Mpundu. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time on my channel, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe button down below. Turn the bell icon to join the notification squad. Don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this video in the comment section below. I'll be super glad to hear from you lovely viewers.
Call for political dialogue. Our expectation was that after the burial of President Nawakwi, the president would formally reach out to the opposition with specific details, such as the need to propose specific subjects to be discussed and the possible dates when dialogue can take place. This has not happened. It has not been done. This explains why we waited for this long before addressing the public through this press conference. We thought it was important to give the president the benefit of doubt and see if he was truly serious with his call for political dialogue. I repeat, to date, we have heard and received nothing from the president. So we wonder, was Mr. Hichilema really sincere about respecting and honoring his sister? About his call for political dialogue? Was it truly sincere? Thank you.
My sister has asked a question as to whether or not His Excellency President Hakainde was sincere in asking for dialogue. I, Sabiwa Scott, the chairperson for UKA, will try to answer that. You will note that we are riding on what he has said. The point we wish to share with Zambians is that we do not think Mr. Hichilema was sincere. He was not sincere when he issued the call for opposition political dialogue.
Because of these mics which are here, this one, anyway, you can just do it like that.
Just like that. Okay. Sorry about that. We do not believe that he was sincere when he issued the call for political dialogue between the opposition and government. We think that he was merely playing to the gallery, and all he wanted to do was to downplay the impact of what was delivered by State Counsel Chifumu Banda, so ably delivered by him, when he reminded the nation that the President Nawakwi, whom he represented as her lawyer, died a sad person. Even when she was in hospital, Vice President Banda reminded us very candidly when he spoke during the church, can you hear me? When he spoke during the church service, that she was arrested for alleged offenses of sedition. President Awaki died with a charge of sedition hanging over her head. She went to her grave with this charge, while those she had asked the police to arrest or at least summon for interviews are free up to date and have never been called. We believe that Mr. Hichilema issued the call for dialogue with the opposition not because he believed in dialogue, but because he wanted to downplay the impact of the well-received message that Vice President Chifumu had delivered just before Mr. Hichilema took the podium. If President Hichilema believed in dialogue, he would have, as we have stated formally, followed his call with concrete steps to put in motion what he said at the church service of President Nawakwi. Our view, our strongly held view, is that Mr. Hichilema's call for political dialogue is not sincere. It is also borne by the fact that we, the opposition, have previously, on many occasions, formally reached out to President Hichilema requesting for meetings with him so that we can discuss different issues of national importance or public concern in a spirit of respect. For instance, in June 2023, we addressed and wrote to Mr. Hichilema on the subject of human rights abuses by the UPND government. He has not responded to date. We shall let you know what we actually wrote to him.
Thank you very much. As my senior colleague has stated, I'm quoting from the letter which we wrote to him. So this is part of the letter, and it reads as follows. We, the undersigned, would like to express our concern at the rate at which rights and freedoms that citizens are being denied in Zambia. Denied under a regime that has continued to purport that it promotes an agenda of being inclusive and accommodate human rights in the eyes of the international community. The recent arrest of former permanent representative to the African Union, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, is one such example that has caused us to bring this issue and other matters to your attention. While you, sir, would like to be perceived as an international peace builder, it is sad to note that here at home, you are running a repressive government that has seen political opponents being abducted and detained without being taken to court in due course. It has become evident that the UPND government is fast descending into a brutal dictatorship where the rule of law, human rights and freedoms, including freedom of the press, are routinely being taken away. It is our collective view, that if the situation in the country is not addressed, that this has a potential to threaten national peace and the security of the national state.
Human rights are guaranteed in the Republican Constitution, and the expectation is that your government must do everything possible to ensure that the rights and freedoms of citizens are not just upheld, but also guaranteed. It is important for you, Mr. President, to remember that you swore an oath to protect and uphold the Constitution of Zambia, the very Constitution that guarantees the Bill of Rights to the citizens of Zambia. We find it hypocritical and insincere that you, as head of state, are seeking to broker peace in other countries when you are busy abusing the rights of your citizens by arresting and oppressing perceived political opponents. We thus demand that you start walking the talk and stop the fanfare of reading good, inclusive speeches. May I say actually hypocritical speeches, while your actions are contrary and meant to disenfranchise citizens. Number two, destabilization of political parties. You, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, and your government have been at the forefront of destabilizing opposition political parties with a view to weaken the opposition in Zambia. The actions of your government are not only retrogressive, but also go against the established tenets of good governance. Your level of overbearance on the governance of the country has left senior citizens and key stakeholders such as the Human Rights Commission and civil society organizations and some senior citizens silent in the face of clear human rights abuses, including the incarceration of opposition leaders on trumped-up and fabricated charges. Need we remind you, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, that Zambia is a multi-party democracy as enshrined in the country's constitution. It is therefore of great concern that you and your government are busy making machinations that are intended to bring back a de facto repressive one-party state by frustrating and intimidating other political players, and in some cases, using the oversight institutions, such as the Registrar of Societies, to deregister political parties on baseless grounds. This level of intimidation must stop forthwith. And that was in June 2023 when we said that. As it threatens the peace and security that Zambia has enjoyed over the many years of the country's independence. Close quote. From June 2023, we have not seen any action towards reducing the overbearance of Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND on political opposition parties and political opposition leaders. My colleague, President Ernest Mwansa, will add to the list of examples that we cited in our letter of June 2023. Thank you.
Good morning, and I want to just say, has already highlighted by colleagues who have spoken before me, the quote is from the letter that was written to this government in June of 2023. Remember, we are in June 2025 now. And another point that was raised in that letter had to do with the issue of freedom of information. Sorry, it had to do with the issue of freedom of information. And that letter stated that besides the promise to have the Freedom of Information Bill enacted, this issue still remains unattended to, despite the rhetoric, and no tangible action has been taken by your government, Mr. President, to ensure the fulfillment of the promise by enacting it. The result of government's failure to enact the Freedom of Information Bill has seen the continued harassment of journalists whose duty it is to pursue facts and the truth to achieve objective coverage. Maybe we need to remind, and let me just go off the script a bit. Maybe we need to remind our colleagues in government that the clear failure to enact this bill is very worrying, because it is failure by government to understand why freedom of information is so important to the people of Zambia. In a democratic society, Mr. President, we need to have this law enacted, because people require to get information from government. It is the only way people will put the government to accountability and ensure the government is transparent. This is very important in a democratic institution, in a democratic state like ours. I want to say also that we had stated in that letter that radio and TV station managers have frequently been threatened, or at the very worst summoned to the police headquarters sometimes to provide sources of information. This is a clear breach of the ethics of the profession. This clear abrogation of freedom of information goes against the values of a democratic state such as Zambia. And we are supposed to guarantee the safety of our citizens, including the journalists who are the fourth estate in our country. You must therefore, Mr. President, make haste to enact the Freedom of Information Bill. It was a promise made. It was a promise undertaken. Why is it being breached when you have gotten into power? Please ensure that you meet your campaign promises. This is long overdue and requires immediate redress, especially in the face of the many accusations of corruption in government which have been highlighted by people. If government is serious about fighting corruption, they should ensure that the bill is enacted in the next legislative session of Parliament, instead of worrying about the Constitution. Let's see the arms of government protected. Thank you. And my colleague, the Reverend Slav, will come to elaborate more on the matter. Thank you very much.
Media colleagues, good morning. Thank you. I have a new title today. I wholeheartedly accept it. After having an economist, maybe we need a reverend. I'd like to recognize the presence of fellow leaders from different alliances and political parties. Mine is to deal with the executive's control of constitutional offices. We are concerned as governance stakeholders with the control, level of influence and intimidation by the executive on constitutional offices. The continued housing of key oversight institutions, such as the Drug Enforcement Commission and the Anti-Corruption Commission, under the office of the President, has made a mockery against the fight, mockery of the fight against corruption. These institutions are now being used as instruments of oppression and frustrating opposition leaders and perceived political enemies of those in the ruling UPND or the executive. The current standoff of the Auditor General's or at the Auditor General's office is most embarrassing to the nation and calls for a closer scrutiny by all well-meaning Zambians. Government's failure to date to provide a proper account of how the forfeited 65 million kwacha was received and utilized is one such an example of how this government has already failed against corruption. To return the integrity of oversight institutions such as the DEC and the SEC, we are demanding that these institutions be allowed to operate with the required autonomy, rather than the current situation where they operate under instructions from the executive. Whereas the intent and purpose of this letter is to address the subject of abuse of opposition leaders, which was triggered by the inhumane manner in which Mr. Emmanuel Mwamba was assaulted whilst in police custody. We've also taken time to address some excesses and anomalies that are happening under the UPND-led government. Zambia is a peaceful nation, and the leaders of all parties who have appended their signatures to this letter are committed to a continued peaceful nation, a peaceful Zambia. But our desire for a peaceful Zambia must not be taken for weakness. We would like to serve notice that we will not allow this harassment of opposition leaders and governance stakeholders, the incessant corruption activities taking place under your government will not go unchallenged. We thank you as we look forward to engaging with you further in the interest of safeguarding Zambia's democratic governance and the rule of law. End of quote. We did not receive any response up to date to our letter or call for a meeting to discuss these issues. We did not get discouraged or give up. Several months later, on 4th October 2023, we again wrote to the President, asked for a meeting so that we could discuss and resolve the following issues of national importance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother. Good morning. My presentation today is concerns from Zambians to the government. Zambians are concerned about the high cost of living. This has resulted in the very high prices of milling, fuel, cooking oil, electricity, basically all essentials which are needed to sustain life. And these prices keep rising. The second one is the concern the Zambians have is a rise in arbitrary arrest and constant harassment of members of the opposition. I think Honorable Given Lubinda, when he came here, he alluded a lot on this point. But I want to add on. For your evidence, I'm standing here as one of those who were detained. So I'm speaking from the truth. And you saw Honorable Nakachinda, very determined Zambian who wants to see a better Zambia. He moved in. He's coming from courts. So this is the issue which we in opposition are facing on a daily basis. The third is lack of transparency around large-scale public procurement of commodities such as fuel, fertilizer, power purchase, agreements under ZESCO, issuance and distribution, exploration, mining, and timber licensing. These are concerns, and Zambians want answers. Number 4, unilateral handling of national peace. We should not joke with peace. Unilateral handling of national peace and security matters by the executive, such as the presence of the U.S. African Security Office, abuse of the Public Order Act. Opposition parties can't even hold rallies. And you, the press, should actually start magnifying these things. You are the fourth estate. Amendment of the proposed public gathering bill. The amendment of the Republican Constitution. The rise in human rights abuse, torture, and mistreatment of persons. Careless remarks of the coup plot. Failure to publish IMF agreements and giving back of KCM to Vedanta resources.
These are serious issues that we need answers. The fifth one, the last one of my presentation, decay of public morals and failure to uphold national values and principles. We've seen address in Parliament on values and principles, but we don't get any substance from the one who goes to Parliament to speak. Traditions and culture, and failure to curb the rise in promotion of LGBT issues in Zambia. Why don't the government speak about LGBT issues? And Zambians are concerned because there is a lot of proliferation, sighting of people practicing this or showing signs of practicing this. So we need answers from the government. So thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Peter Chanda, President, New Congress Party. I would like to acknowledge the panel of leaders. Maybe I can speak without this.
No, that's okay, Michael.
I would like to acknowledge the panel of leaders of the opposition political parties present. Today marks only about, we are saying, we are remaining with a year before Parliament dissolves and we go back to the general elections. 4 years of UPND in government has attributed failure to undertake national building. In order to promote unity and curb the rising nepotism, tribalism, and regionalism in public service, I want to state that secretive commencement of the constitutional making process, having no clear roadmap to the consultative process in place to guide the constitution making process, we are alarmed that the secretive efforts aimed at amending the Republican Constitution, in which people are being asked to submit recommendation on non-contentious issues, given the lack of the criteria on which constitutes non-contentious issues, we do not think that these non-transparent efforts represent the best way of carrying our constitutional reforms forward, unless the objective is to remove the popular clauses such relating to the running mate and the 50+1. Whilst they failed to run government efficiently, today they are talking about the constitution. The same constitution that they brought down when under the PF regime there was a Bill 10 and they brought it in a different version. I fail to understand the hypocrisy of President Hakainde Hichilema and his government. It's sad indeed we don't know how that will lessen the cost of living. Number 8, the composition of the Board of Commissioners at ECZ, which is perceived to be partisan, non-inclusive, not balanced, is a serious source of concern. We all know that the current commissioners at ECZ, 2 of them are hardcore cadres, including the chairperson herself, cadres of the UPND. Can we say that is that not a shame? And we expect to have a very efficient ECZ. I have had issues with them and I contacted them, and I want to say that it is really a sad story because ECZ of today looks like it's a branch of the UPND. We call for a review of those that we have always mentioned that they are partisan. Ladies and gentlemen, our electoral system is not as inclusive as we can say in a democratic state. fees and other costs currently in force for political parties and individuals to participate in an election, all the fees and costs and charges are illegal and unconstitutional, redundant and anti-democratic, because this put the barrier on Zambians' ability to participate as candidates. We need to look into that. A right that is constitutionally theirs is also a barrier for a citizenry to vote for a potential candidate who are barred simply because they cannot afford to pay astronomical fees. As a result, this barrier, a majority of people, as a result of this barrier, a majority of people, mostly the youths and women, the disabled and the majority and the disadvantaged person, cannot afford to participate, to be elected in position of leadership of their choice. This only means that the wealthiest can do, regardless of how they come to get that wealth, they participate. So my call is that Zambia needs serious reforms, not the reforms that are telling us about, and want to state that the time is not ripe for constitutional change. The only thing that is ripe is for UPND to begin to pack their bags, because 2026, Tonse will form government. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. Gender inequality. The gap is widening. The gender ministry needs to be reinstated. Women constitute more than 50% of our population and therefore needs to have an adequate representation, such as the youth have a ministry. The case of purported abduction of Edith Nawakwi. Recently, Madam Nawakwi was arrested for abduction of the Hatembos. A lady by the name of Rachel Chileshe Katolo came forward to give a statement to the effect that in actual fact, it was the UPND that had custody of the Hatembos and not Madam Nawakwi. Some very prominent names within the UPND were mentioned. These are the questions that we need to ask. Why has there been no follow-up? What has the law enforcement agencies done with this information? Will it be swept under the carpet? Investigative wings reporting to the State House. This undermines the integrity and therefore does not inspire confidence as regards the independency of these investigative wings. Breakdown in the health facilities. We draw attention to the mortality levels in the country and wonder as to whether you are being adequately briefed or are you ignoring the brief that the health sector has suffered under the new Dawn government. To the extent that today the cancer center that has once a flagship center is virtually non-operational. As a result, the increase in mortality. Should you require an independent voice on this term, please consult dignitaries from foreign embassies. Thank you.
A very good morning, beloved Zambians. One Zambia. One Zambia. I share with you insights on President Kaunda's approach on dialogue. In the wake of the Kenneth David Kaunda National Day, we have many things to be thankful for in remembering the first president and founding father of this beautiful country of ours, Zambia. One important memory which stands out and very pertinent for us now as a nation to focus on was his respect for constitutionalism and rule of law. President Kaunda will be remembered for facilitating a peaceful and democratic transition of power in 1991. He did so by shortening the process to return to multi-party democracy, which we cherish today and which some of us have taken for granted. He shortened it by skipping a referendum to change the Constitution and instead signed an executive order for constitutional amendment of Article 4 that led to the reintroduction of a multi-party political dispensation. He did so because he listened to the demands of the Zambian people for a return to multipartism. He did so because he respected the will of the Zambian people. President Kaunda listened and gave Zambians what they wanted. And against all odds, he shortened his stay in power by 2 years in calling for an early election. After his defeat in the 1991 polls, he was magnanimous and humbly accepted the people's will and retired, thereby setting an example for all future Zambian leaders to emulate. He became the father of democracy in Zambia and Africa by creating the democratic space and accepting its results thereafter. President Kaunda set a high bar for the presidency, a bar that we all ought to emulate, a bar that recognizes the Zambian people as the center of authority, as our masters. Today, the people are looking for leadership in the mode of President Kaunda to return good governance and a strong moral society. President Kaunda demonstrated wisdom in all these actions. He demonstrated wisdom by subordinating himself to the Constitution. He demonstrated wisdom by subordinating himself to the people of Zambia as their servant. These are noble attributes of authentic leadership. In celebrating Kenneth Kaunda National Day, we celebrate wise, caring, listening, and authentic leadership. A leadership that teaches us that true leadership and progress lies in marrying principle with action. That true leadership is having a moral compass that uplifts others, unites people, affirms justice, indeed strives for the realization of our national motto of one Zambia, one nation. His leadership was inspired by what he called Zambian humanism, a philosophy rooted in compassion and equity. For ultimately, true leadership.
Dialogue is needed in defense of democracy. There's need to talk to each other. We have been talking about each other a lot, but there's very little of talking to each other. Democracy requires negotiating with each other, compromising with each other to build consensus. Democracy also requires justice. It requires fairness. It requires humaneness. The recent arrest and imprisonment of Honorable Mnia Zulu raises serious concerns about the state of justice and fairness in our country. The manner in which these actions have been carried out suggests a troubling pattern of political persecution rather than the impartial application of the law. Even more concerning is the directive by the Speaker of the National Assembly to the Electoral Commission of Zambia to proceed with matters affecting Honorable Zulu's seat before he has been given a meaningful chance to appeal his conviction and sentencing. This move effectively denies him the fundamental right to a fair hearing and due process, rights that are guaranteed to every Zambian in our constitution. We have seen a pattern where parliamentary constituencies are being taken away through the abuse of the law. We saw this in Ikwacha. We saw this in Kabushi. We saw this in Kawambwa. We saw this in Pambashe. It was rescued narrowly in Petauke. We are seeing it coming in Rumezi. How many seats do they want to collect in this way? How many seats do they want to steal in this way? Seats they failed to win in a general election. It is clear to many observers that these actions are not isolated. They appear to be a part of a broader, deliberate strategy by Mr. Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND to secure an artificial parliamentary majority, to get a 2/3 parliamentary majority. With such a majority, they would be in a position to bulldoze constitutional amendments without genuine national consensus, undermining the very foundations of our democracy. Honorable Zulu deserves a fair chance, nothing less. Justice must not be sacrificed on the altar of political expedience. Since they have such injustice, unite us. Such abuses unite us. We will work together. We will field one candidate in Rumezi. We will avoid splitting the vote, and we will decisively defeat the UPND in Rumezi. This by-election will serve as a clear signal of what lies ahead in the 2026 general elections. A nation determined to defend democracy. a nation determined to reject authoritarianism. There will be the will of the people. The will of the people is stronger than any political scheme that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema can come up with. We are committed to dialogue, very committed to dialogue in principle. As we have shown, we remain committed to dialogue and have on several occasions asked Mr. Hichilema to meet us as opposition parties so that we can discuss issues of common interest, issues of national importance. We have called this press conference not because we are desperate to meet Mr. Hichilema, but because we do not want the public to be misled, to be deceived by Mr. Hichilema tomorrow if he wakes up and he creates the impression that we don't want dialogue. He called for dialogue and we did not respond. We are often ready to meet Mr. Hichilema and ask him to name the place and the venue of dialogue so that we can sit down, talk to each other, discuss with each other the issues that affect our people. Zambians are suffering. Zambians are troubled. Zambians are in pain. And want solutions to their problems. They want an end to their problems. They have been on the path to Calvary for too long. They want their resurrection. There are so many issues that have arisen since our last appeal to Mr. Hichilema, which justify an urgent meeting between us and him and civil society. If Mr. Hichilema is not ready, if Mr. Hichilema is not committed to genuine dialogue, he should stop talking about dialogue. We call on him to stop giving politics a bad name by saying things it doesn't mean. Anasheko ubufi. Na totela mkwa.
This is DJ Mutati exclusive.
Alright, that's all for you today, lovely viewers. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about the video you just watched in the comment section below. I'll be super glad to hear from you, lovely viewers. Once again, I go by the name of Mutati Mpundu. I love you, peace, I gotta go.